Good morning, everyone. We hope that you are enjoying the conference so far. We are super excited that we are invited to this LeSS conference. My name is Emily and my colleague Marie. We are both people managers for digital product development and R&D department in a company called Wärtsilä. For the last 2 years, we've been experimenting with Wärtsilä in the LeSS transformation. And 1 year ago, actually, we moved to LeSS Huge because our scope grew. For the last 2 years, we've been working as people managers, which acts as a role for corporate line manager for Scrum Masters and developers. Today, we would like to share our knowledge and experience of how we have helped this transformation. We will cover how our department actually changed this traditional line manager role, which is usually technical, and they chose these two ladies with HR backgrounds. Hello. And we will show you also how the role is designed to keep the organizational structure as flat as possible. And we will share with you some of our processes that we have implemented so far. We hope our story gives you an idea of how to consider the people side of things, and you can experiment with it in your own company. Marie?
So this is us. Hopefully you recognize us compared to the official conference pictures, but this is what happens when you have kids. So Marie, and this is my family. I've been together with my husband Antti for 29 years, and our daughter Erika is 18, and our son Niklas is 12. And the picture has been taken at the Christmas fair at Helsinki City Center where we live. I worked my whole career in HR, and in my previous job, I was heading the HR function in a Finnish IT company. And before that, I've done global recruitment, training, talent and leadership development, and change management. And I've worked in small and big companies, and my longest employment has been at Nokia and Nokia Siemens Networks, but that was already more than 10 years ago. And I applied for the people manager role for several reasons. I'm passionate about motivating people and helping them to grow and really show them what kind of opportunities they have at work. And also for me personally, I love to learn and grow and continuously improve myself. Emily.
This is me and my family. I'm Spanish from background, even though you cannot figure it out from my surname. Oh, even it's not there. My name is Emily Hogenboom. It doesn't sound very Spanish, then people tend to speak Dutch to me. Don't do that, please. And these are my twins, which keep me very resilient. Every day they are 4 years old, and my daughter Emma, and I'm married to a Dutchman, which makes my life very international. I have a background in psychology. I'm a psychologist specialized in organizational psychology, and I work in HR for almost 20 years, but I actually really like the human side of human resources. And for that reason, I was super excited to take this role in Wärtsilä. I really like to help people, and this was a very people-centric role. Wärtsilä was a super international company, full of diversity, as you can see, and I really love that part. I think when you have diversity, as in this room, then you can create magic things.
We want to start by saying a few words about the company we work for and what we do. So Wärtsilä has long roots, and actually this year we are turning 190 years. Wärtsilä is from Finland, and today we have almost 18,000 professionals in more than 280 locations in 79 countries. Wärtsilä's goal is to decarbonize the two industries it operates in, maritime and energy. So Wärtsilä specializes in engines and combustion technology for ships and power plants. And we are stepping into selling services, leveraging data collected by sensors to improve asset efficiency and life cycle performance. Our department, Digital Product Development, helps Wärtsilä's more traditional mechanical business to deliver the digitally enabled products necessary for these life cycle services. We don't just do software, but we also develop hardware. And we are a diverse team of roughly 120 people located primarily in Finland and the Netherlands.
Our department actually started as a small experiment with a product called Expert Insight. It was meant to do predictive maintenance planning, which is a whole word for it. But what meant is that actually our department grew very fast and the complexity got a lot faster there. Then we decided to work with the Spotify model, which probably a lot of you are familiar with the Spotify model, not what LeSS is doing. And we experience having the teams and having the backlog for each team and the component teams. We realized very quickly that this created a lot of silos and it did not give us a good overview of what the product and the value that we could produce.
So due to the issues with the Spotify model, at the end of 2021, we chose to transition to the large-scale Scrum. We moved to one product owner, one backlog for the whole department, which allowed us to direct our efforts in the most important items. The transition required a lot more time and effort that we had anticipated in advance. And we decided in LeSS in December and thought that we could be up and running by January. While we were able to get the first iteration of the one backlog in place, it has taken a lot of time to shift mindsets and for the developers to increase their confidence and realize that they have been given the opportunity to grow to their full potential as product developers.
So a short clarifying question, how many people are we talking about?
120, roughly.
Yes.
So we also took this transition as an opportunity to experiment with a new line manager structure, introducing the new role of a people manager. Our intention was really to make a change with this approach and not just rename the role. We wanted to give the developers the opportunity to be more self-managing while also recognizing that without line management support, our agile transformation was unlikely to succeed. We believe we've achieved this for our department and want to share our learnings with you and give you some food for thought about whether a people manager role could be something that you could consider. Under the Spotify model, our senior developers had been part-time line managers for other developers in their field of specialism, for example, data science or front end. Looking back, we had several issues with this approach. Turning our best developers into line managers took them away from the valuable work on the product. Since the line manager role was part-time, our people weren't getting the attention they needed to really thrive. And most importantly, our chapter leads themselves were pretty frustrated by the role. They didn't like doing the people admin side of approving sick leaves and doing performance reviews, and really wanted to focus on technical and coaching skills instead. When we moved to LeSS, many of our former chapter leads volunteered to become Scrum Masters, and we recognized that we needed extra hands to help out to share the workload with them. So we thought this was a great opportunity to experiment and try a new approach with this new line manager setup of the people managers. Emily.
When we actually moved to LeSS, we wanted to keep the structure as flat as possible. And since the backlog will have the priorities and the teams will be a lot more self-managed, then we actually didn't want to add another layer of management. As you know, adding layers, it just created a complex hierarchy. But then at the same time, we are an agile department in a corporate environment. And that means that sometimes corporate structures oblige or you need to comply to the corporate laws. And as traditional, we have this kind of structure, but we decided that we had to add a line manager as Wärtsilä corporate required for every employee. And the reason was to do performance goals, performance evaluation, salary increases, but also follow sickness, approval flows. If you have worked for a company that is corporate, you know all the stuff that we have to do. And because of that reason, we created the people manager role. The people manager is basically fully dedicated to the Scrum Masters and the developers, but we will not interfere with what the backlog is. We will create one people manager per location, then I'm the one from the Netherlands, and Marie is the one majority for Finland. The people manager role, as you see here, you probably know this one is a similar one to the Scrum Masters, but we are not the Scrum Masters. Then what we are doing is actually giving a structural support to the people and a stability. They had a lot of changes before we came there, and we tried to make them calm and feel stable. But we also wanted to empower them into their personal development. At the same time, it was a little bit of a mess before, and then we had to put people practices in place, like improvement recruitment processes, make sure that the performance review will be adding the rest of the team and not only the view of a line manager. But we also wanted to do target compensation, salaries, they had to be equal and not despair. And over time, the idea will be that the developers will be much more self-managed, and then we could take a step back and actually focus on the coaching part, which is the majority of our background. DPD transitioned to LeSS in 2022, and in that summer, we came along. Our experience joining Wärtsilä was super nice. Everybody was with welcome arms. They were super happy that we were there, and they didn't have to do any of the admin jobs anymore. But then we realized very quickly that there was a lot to do. Marie?
Yep. So from our first day onwards, we got the line manager responsibilities for all the developers and the Scrum Masters in our department. And as Emily mentioned, we really needed to sit down and think how to manage and then how to plan the work and how to go forward. So to begin with, we focused in getting to know the people, getting the house in order, and complying with the corporate requirements. We both went to LeSS training and took part into different Scrum events to familiarize ourselves with more agile ways of working. And then we started to set up consistent processes and systems with our direct reports, such as one-to-ones, to learn everyone's inner motivations and growth plans. We also worked on the first iteration of our people roadmap, which set out specific areas we wanted to attend to. These included setting up the people foundation, so we had a clear process to review and maximize performance. We created practical strategies to attract and select talent, and we also wanted to improve employee engagement. Empowering people to be self-directed and feel accountable for their work, and encouraging people to learn and grow, and prioritizing personal development activities. Emily.
Regarding the talent mapping and competence mapping, what we did is, for the first time, we sat down with the PO, with the product owner, and then we asked him, what do you need today, but also what do you need for the future? And we created the first competence map and actually a capacity planning and a resource planning for what it was needed for the future. And what we realized very quickly is that before we had a lot of single skills, but if we wanted to adopt LeSS in a proper way, we wanted to hire people with many different skills. And we quickly went to hire full stack developers. Regarding employee engagement, we actually realized that our reports had some unclarity about how was the way of working. We were following LeSS or not fully. The communication between POs and Scrum Master was a bit complicated. And our role was actually to open a channel of communication to make sure that that will be a day-to-day basis. They will know the way of working and they will know that they matter. They will feel psychologically safe. That was one of the targets that we decided to do as last year, which we accomplished. We will want that people will know each other and they will feel psychologically safe to make mistakes and to talk to each other without fear. Regarding performance, obviously being HR, I cannot not thank to HR because we collaborate with them. But what we did is adapt their common targets. The target mindset of individual targets, we changed it into targets that they will be useful for them. And then we said, okay, let's think about common targets that they will be super important for you, but you will also be the one that they find the measurements for the targets. And then the developers felt really involved about what we were doing. Then I think the key for these tweaks and transformation is to keep things as simple as possible. If you are having these corporate requirements and you want to make them work in this environment. Marie?
What kind of targets, do you have examples?
Yes, do you mind if we keep the questions for the end? As it's our first talk, we are bloody nervous, and if not, and at the end we will get it stuck, then I'm super happy to answer at the end, yeah? Marie?
Good. Yeah, so only after being on board a few months and having the feeling of getting a bit kind of things rolling, we heard about the big upcoming organizational change. A bunch of people would soon be merging with our department, and we would have to cover an extra 6 to 7 product offerings. These people have never worked in LeSS, were spread out geographically, and came from an entirely different working culture. Since the merger would increase our scope, we decided it was necessary to go to less huge, and our product owner split our work into areas to make things manageable. The product we had been working with already was kept in the area that was completely in the Netherlands, and the new platform development related work was done in an area that was spread across Netherlands, Serbia, and Finland. This gave us the opportunity to experiment with co-location in our Drunen site. At this point, we basically shifted into 2 different people experiments. In the Netherlands, Emily was responsible almost entirely for people in the co-located area. Most of her direct reports had been working in LeSS for more than a year already, and they'd gradually got used to the idea of feature teams and self-management, and were mostly on board with the LeSS framework. However, in Finland, we had a handful of employees who had been in our department already before, and then we had to onboard 20 plus new employees who'd been working on several different product lines into our way of working and culture. We also gained people from a new development hub in Serbia, so teams were very spread out. Less huge was another big change for our department within a reasonably short time frame. We also realized with Emily and myself that we had to gear up our own skills and decided to certify ourselves as Scrum Masters to be better able to support the teams in this transition.
There are few strategies that actually help us to be more effective. The first one is hiring an external help. In Finland, all these developers that Marie just talked about, they just came in and suddenly they were responsible for the future of the products, and they were not used to actually being asked what to do. And we realized that we had to make a change very fast. Then we experienced in Finland a very experienced consultant, which is Ran Nyman. I hope I pronounced it good.
Yes, and Ran is here.
Hi, Ran. And we are super helpful because he helped tremendously to this growth, but also to this change and adapting as quick as possible. In the Netherlands, I will say we, but in my case, I was extremely lucky because I had Bas Bode. Yes, Bas. And he really helped us to keep the momentum going and really made the best out of the collocated teams. He usually doesn't like that I tell him how good he is. But now is my speech, sorry. But I think these came not without challenge. They really challenged our way of thinking. I think it was very difficult for us to change our mindsetting, to think about what was the best way of moving forward, and to think of an agile way of implementing these things. But they were a fantastic asset, and we have learned incredibly from them. We also arranged the LeSS practitioner course for everybody, the developers, but also the management, top management, and stakeholders. And that was a really big boost for developers to know and motivate what they were doing. In addition, in Finland, we were also very lucky to find a vendor that will understand the attitude that we were searching for. Marie?
In the Netherlands, just before moving to less huge, we arranged a workshop where the teams designed and formed themselves into new teams. This was the first time that we changed the team composition in a structured way. Our teams had been pretty stable for a very long time and had not seen many changes in the composition before our times. I think all of us were a bit worried what would happen. Would the teams go along with our proposal with the shuffling? Would they honor the boundary conditions we set to them? And most of all, would the new setup seriously affect the performance of the teams and thus slow us down, which we actually didn't have the luxury of? We want to stress here that the teams did the self-organizing themselves, so the management did not take part in this exercise. And there were some teams who thought that they didn't need any changes because they were already working so well together. And we didn't interfere with this because that was part of the whole exercise. And we wanted to encourage the teams to take more accountability in the future setup. And I think here it was also super comforting to have Bas around, so helping hands-on and giving us advice how to handle the situation. Plus, Bas was actually facilitating the event in our Drunen office. In Finland, we initially kept the teams in the same historical setup because we thought there was too much change going on aside the team setup. But after around 4 months, actually after the LeSS training we gave in Helsinki, the people proposed themselves to do this reforming of the teams and to spread the knowledge. And I believe that we were really successful in this team formation in Finland, not only because it was an idea that came from the teams themselves, but also because actually in the event itself, they realized that they need to shuffle themselves as much as they can to really spread the knowledge and make them more feature team-like. And this was really a major turning point for us. And it seemed that the motivation and feeling of accomplishment increased a lot after this. In the end, we really felt that the reforming the teams worked out well and was really worth the effort.
Regarding collocation, I was actually the lucky one that our area was collocated, and then we could have these face-to-face meetings. What happened is that we agree with the developers to choose 2 days that they would like to be at the office. They chose for Monday and Wednesday, which was great. And these create a faster speed of learning, but also a nice work environment. While in Drunen, we were actually very close. In Helsinki, in the other area, actually, I cannot say Helsinki, they were very much spread across Helsinki, Vaasa, and Belgrade. And what we had to do was invite people to trainings, but also Marie had to spend a lot of time traveling and making sure that people will get to know each other and get to know her. It seems that the working balance between working at the office or not, coming from COVID, it has become a little bit of a struggle for a lot of companies, and we are not rare there. But Wärtsilä works very much remotely, and it's a global company. Then it's very difficult to always stick to co-location. There have been a lot of different opinions. Some people, they love to come to the office. Some people, they don't even want to put their camera on. But then for now, what we have decided, Wärtsilä, is to lure them a little bit to come to the office, to make them feel happy. Then we started with offering lunch every time that we will have an event. That helped. Developers love eating. I don't know why, but if you put them a sandwich, they will come, and that helped a lot. And we also asked them, what do you need to come to the office? How do you like? And one of the things was to get screens that they will be proper, and we got them the biggest screens ever. And what is very cool is that you see them now working pair programming behind a computer, which is fantastic. I think when we first came on board, we wanted to get the DPD's foundation in place. But after moving to less huge, we really need to adapt our way of working to make sure that people will feel engaged, but they will also want to grow. The first approach that we changed was the way we recruited. Before, if you know a line organization, you have somebody leaves with that specific skills. I heard before in one of the tables, DevOps, 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 we need DevOps. We have the same thing. But then somebody will leave and you will hire somebody with the same skills. What we did, we changed our approach. Then first we hire full skill, like full stack developers. But before we have the interview, if the CV is very good, then we will introduce them the LeSS video that is in YouTube. We will let them see it for 5 minutes, and if they are still interested to work for us, because they really need to stretch their capabilities and skills, then we will invite them for first a personal interview. We swap the personal interview for the technical interview, and then we will see if the person has the right attitude, and they want to learn and they want to stretch their knowledge. If this happens, then they will have a technical interview, and if they are good enough, then the team will be the end result. They will have to make the decisions. And that's something that is very important. They are the ones that hire, and they are the ones that fire, which is more difficult, but it's nice, the thought. The approach, gezondheid. The approach, it really elevated our recruitment way of working. And what is clear for us that we need to look for broad skills and not narrow specialisms.
So we also had to take a long look at how we are motivating and looking to retain our employees. Traditionally, organizations look to identify their top talent and incentivize them to stay as long as possible. And actually that was something that we started doing when we joined the department. But now, instead, we don't want to depend on any one person. So we want to ensure every individual learns as much and as widely as possible. And this has really kind of taken a lot from our side and a lot of conversations also with our HR and kind of other departments around us, how to make this a reality and how to also kind of feel comfortable with our approach. So the new criteria included several new areas which we deemed essential in product development. Flexibility and willingness to work with unfamiliar items, competencies that are broad but also wide, and domain knowledge, and the ability to work with stakeholders. That is actually really a key. And we also wanted to add an element of asking feedback, and this being part of the performance reviews. So we felt that it's important to ask the team how this individual is performing and how much they are contributing to the work the team is doing, and also what kind of skills the person has. And actually, how Emily already described, so in Finland we've seen some external consultants wanting to leave us, and then actually realizing that the team didn't need a new person to kind of fill the gap, because there actually was no gap, because the team was working every day together and everyone was sharing the knowledge. Okay, sorry. Emily?
Yes. We also start encouraging the developers to think about more than just the development or the technical skills. We ask them, how good are you in presenting retros? How good are you in communication with the stakeholders? And I think by creating these thoughts, then we will get the best out of them for the Wärtsilä business need that we needed with this LeSS transformation. Our big learning is that if you really know the people and you take the time to talk to them, then you can make a difference with their personal development plan. And at the same time, it's very important to have collaboration with the Scrum Masters, because they know the team and they know where they are working. We also are very keen on these one-to-one discussions that gives us a lot more information that a normal line manager will have. When we come to career paths, it got a lot more difficult. We wanted to keep the department as flat as possible, but that created the eternal question. How do we let people grow if there's not hierarchy to climb? That was very tricky. But we thought about creating an experiment. Obviously, we are an experiment, we love experiments. Then we created this technical mentor role. The technical mentors will be identifying the training and development needs of the developers. They will continue to grow their knowledge and experience across the whole product, and they will mentor and coach individuals in the technical related topics. If it's not clear enough, Maria and I, we are not technical, and we needed that help. The aim is actually to give the developers the opportunity to grow in a non-specialization role, but also in a non-becoming a manager. It looks sometimes that only the way to go forward is to become a manager, and this was an open door. And the technical mentors, just to be clear, they aren't involved in the performance evaluation of the people responsibilities. The new role took a little bit of a broad mindset, and they were chosen by knowledge sharing and coaching skills. And this experiment has been taken for 6 months, and we are very happy with it. Then we will continue with our experiment.
So we are also looking to improve our team's technical capabilities with a new structure, the line team. And it's important to note that despite the misleading title, there are still only 2 managers, so myself and Emily. And the line team is a collective of Scrum Masters, the technical mentors, and then people managers. And we meet regularly to work closely together on organizational improvement initiatives and gaining insights from the teams. The whole idea is to have a better visibility in what is happening in the teams and how to develop the technical skills of the developers with our current setup, as that is something that Emily and myself have been lacking because we are non-technical. The Scrum Masters and the technical mentors report to the people manager, and the technical mentors are part of a team, but the expectation is that they are mentoring across the teams. As said, we are still very much experimenting with this setup, and probably kind of our meeting structure and how we are handling with the activities could be improved. But we already now see a lot of benefit in this setup. So we are, for example, sharing what is happening in the different teams and what are the dynamics. And that's not only insightful for the people managers, but also for the Scrum Masters and the technical mentors. And something we are still trying to figure out is how we could better collaborate between the 2 line teams, because that is actually something we have not yet done.
We have learned a lot for the last 2 years. One significant learning is the sheer amount of work that goes into the people manager. We started super enthusiastic with all kinds of plans, and then we realized that it will take time and effort to get there. Another takeaway is to work very closely with the Scrum Masters. If you have a good relationship with them, it makes a big difference because they will be telling you what's going on in the teams. But the most significant point that we would like to stress is that the success of a LeSS adoption, it relies completely on the people. You win or you lose with them. But if they feel heard and they feel that they bring value to the organization, they will rise up.
So our experience is that it takes a lot of time for the developers to realize they can grow into this broader and sometimes more challenging, but ultimately more rewarding role. For the distributed area, we had several developers who openly shared that they were very skeptical about LeSS, that's maybe an understatement, and now admit that they would never go back. Getting results requires time, and the ability to motivate the people to express themselves and realize their true potential takes a lot of effort. Spending time meeting with each person individually, getting to know them and understand what motivates them, is giving them a safe space and sound their voices has been very important to our progress. So people are at the center of our transformation, and that's why we put so much time and effort and resources into supporting them on this journey. And we really underestimated the profound cultural shift our department would have to go through during this transformation. We found dedicated people managers vital for giving people the stability and support they needed to continue to grow and deal with setbacks and difficulties. We are seeing some positive signs. Our approach is working. So the teams feel empowered and people are more engaged. And during the time we have been around, our attrition rate for the internal employees has more than halved. This is a great sign. Our work improving the culture and engagement of our department is paying off. The team's ability to adapt to large changes in backlog priority has moved from quarters to weeks. Of course, this can't be attributed to people managers alone, but it's a great sign that overall our transformation is headed in a very positive direction. And according to our product owner, the focus on people's personal development has improved how our teams work together and has helped their work on the backlog. So much of this transformation isn't about only technical skills, but about soft skills, attitude and willingness to change behavior and habits. Today, we see lots of individuals and teams taking ownership, going beyond their comfort zone and improving dynamics. For example, teams are getting better at identifying what competencies they need, and they don't need to rely on the consulting of the product owner. They are also relying less on the skills of the individual team members and engaging more in real teamwork. It hasn't been a walk in the park, and there's still a lot to be done, but we are really proud of our progress, creating a culture and mindset for the long term. So if we have been able to raise your interest by this approach, there are some circumstances where introducing non-technical people managers is particularly helpful, in our opinion. We found that the people managers have been a great way to keep our organization as flat as possible. So having the people manager allows us to be really lean because they take care of all the people topics. This means that the rest of the management team, the product owners and the Scrum Masters can focus on creating the most value to the product. Also, we found the role helpful for giving developers and Scrum Masters lots of support and guidance on conflict resolution and growth strategies. Our backgrounds in HR has also helped significantly our recruitment and retention strategies.
Our experiment so far for the people manager is going very well. We are able to comply with the corporate requirements, but we are also making a difference in this agile transformation. And of course, there is no recipe for success. If you put a people manager in every organization, it will go different. It's depending on the circumstances. But we hope that we gave you food for thoughts, and then you think, maybe this is something for me, maybe not, but it's something that I can be experimenting in the future. And as we are very people-oriented, we would like to finish our presentation with this quote from Simon Sinek: "We do not do business with companies, we do business with people." And this is actually a quote that we live and breathe every day. We thank you very much for your attention. And now we can have questions.
I just have the question about an example of those targets you put on.
Yeah, that's one of them was last year, for example, the people chose psychologically safety. They want to be able, because we were stretching their competences and skills, we were getting them out of their comfort zone. Then they didn't want to make mistakes and being punished by that. And they say, okay, let's make sure that we create this psychological safety environment. Then we created a people and culture community, and we use it as a target. Another target this year, for example, is the development practices. And they are like the rules of LeSS, that we are not having a spillover, everybody needs to get out of the comfort zone, there is no pre-planning, and more things. But that's one of the examples. Yes? Yes, it's okay. Go for it.
Okay, thanks for the presentation. It's inspiring. I agree with the conclusion about people being at the center of things. I had also experience in the first case study, which I wrote as a LeSS trainer, at the UN party about the HR department becoming actively involved, and one of the HR business partners became the Scrum Master, which really helped a lot in many ways. The question I have for you is, having introduced the role that you hold, the two of you are the only two managers for the whole 120-some people?
Yes.
Yes.
So you have a ratio, you're really highly leveraged in terms of little overhead, lots of people. Have you found any challenges in the boundary between the Scrum Master and your role in terms of you're doing some people-related things around career coaching, skill development, performance review, and so on? Has that left any impact on the Scrum Masters who might, without a manager, they might have had to do or somehow figure out a solution to these things? Can you speak about that?
Yes, sure. I would like to say no because I have two Scrum Masters over here, then they might kick me out. But I think it has made an impact for them, but also for us. At the beginning, we had different Scrum Masters, and once we had good Scrum Masters in place, or better in our feeling, then we created this collaboration. Then we did not have these boundaries of this is yours, this is mine. We had a collaboration attitude, and that really helped us a lot. And we never fight, we just add value to each other.
Yeah, but it has taken time
Yeah.
to kind of figure out how to collaborate better, and also for us to realize that we actually need to be partners with the Scrum Masters, and definitely not, for example, line managers and kind of have that kind of relationship. And I would say that first we struggled a lot,
Yes.
and now we are becoming better, but there is still a lot to be done on that front.
I think becoming a Scrum certified helped us a lot to understand what was the role and what were they supposed to do, and then we could add value to what they were doing. Thank you for the question. Yes?
Yeah, I'm interested in these technical mentors. How do you choose them? What is exactly their role? Can you be more specific about that?
Do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, it's still an experiment, and the whole idea was that actually starting from the management team, we don't have that technical people as part of the management team. And then because of our non-technical background, we really felt that we need to actually, instead of doing this kind of performance and well-being related topics, we really need to tackle these technical skills as an like a big topic for the whole department. And as part of that, then we came up with this role of the technical mentor, and we kind of created a job description for the role, but to be honest, it was quite of a dream to become true, and we actually realized that we probably don't have people who are kind of matching all the requirements that we are asking. And then we actually had a lot of conversations with the people to find persons with the right attitude for the technical mentor role. So wanting to coach and mentor others already and sharing kind of their knowledge across the teams. And that was actually the key kind of idea why we chose the people that we currently have in that role.
Maybe what was a little bit controversial is that if you think of a technical mentor, you will think of the most experienced person with the highest skills. And we exactly did not want that as a technical mentor, because it was an example of what was career growth path. And that confused sometimes people. It's like, yeah, well, are you not searching for the best developer in this specific skill that has been with us for ages?
So you were searching for a person who is good enough, but the primary focus is that he is able to have his skills.
Yeah, and,
Yes.
and actually to add to kind of be willing to the idea that they need to learn broader skills. So we realized that it was okay if they did not have them all yet, because then we wouldn't have found any people, but the mindset had to be there. So if you were like really experienced, let's say backend developer, and you wanted to be stuck with that and you were not interested to learn anything else, then that was not a candidate for us.
Yes.
Yeah, great talk, thanks for that. Many organisations that I work with always want to get return on investment, so they always want to get a take on the productivity of their workforce, software development developers. And it's usually often very subjective and often very, very wrong, and really doesn't really help anyone.
Yeah.
How have you tackled that problem in this case to understand where your development is at, where they want to go, not just from a learning, but from the actual product development
Yeah.
learning is part of it.
I think we are probably not the best persons to answer. There are more kind of knowledgeable people in this room who know better. But let's put it this way. We've tried to fight back on this idea of measuring the people and kind of being able to pinpoint, what the performance is. So we've been fighting a lot back to corporate and the top management and the departments around us to kind of not judge us by that. But then it's obvious that we also need some measurements for ourselves. And those, for example, have been the experiments with the common targets that we've had, that we kind of together decided what are the things that we are comfortable measuring or following and or seeing what the progress is, but then still kind of not having some hardcore KPIs that could be very hurtful for the actual transformation.
Sure. So that scenario is developer comes to you and says, sure, the people managers, you know, I think I've been very effective in my work, made a big difference, I want a pay rise, which is a common situation.
Really?
Yeah. And then, or maybe you think they deserve a pay rise. And
They do?
And they probably do, and they don't realise it because they're so into everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
How does that sort of
That's-
manifest itself, and what emotions does that go through
Yes.
to recognise that?
we actually integrated the team, and then we asked them to ask for 360 feedback to all the team members. And they are allowed to, first they hold each other accountable, but they also experience with us in these one-to-ones that they not only talk about themselves, but they also talk about how awesome somebody is or how not a good job they are doing. And then we will ask 360s. And now in the line team, we can also talk about performance. Then we have like 360 view of how the person is doing in their development, how technically well are doing, but also how are they doing in the team. And then that summary is a collaboration of this person is performing correct or not.
Yep. But we are definitely not measuring individuals from their like performance, but we
Yes.
are really trying to have this really wide view of how the person is actually doing and contributing.
So you've got the team to do the 360. Who does the technical and the other one?
So it's a self-assessment.
Yeah.
And then they are getting feedback also from the other teammates. And then if needed, we can also discuss with the Scrum Masters, potentially with the product owners to get their feedback as well.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something we are kind of experimenting with. At the moment, it seems much better than where we started. But still, and the more we know the people, we also get a very good feeling who is actually a person who is mentioned by everyone in the department as a key contributor.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. Yes?
Couple of questions, maybe one you already basically replied, but just to be sure. So are you adopting OKRs to assess the targets, let's say at the level, or you're not relying on any training, you just let the people formulate their own targets and to just understand? Because you said you don't measure.
Yeah, so we have,
Yes.
for the department, roughly 120 people, everyone has the same targets.
Including ourselves.
Yep. And they are like 3 or 4 targets in total. And then kind of we come up together with the measurement, and then we follow up throughout the whole year.
The other question I have is the technical
Mentor.
mentor is a full-time job.
No, they also keep developing. They are part of a team. They are free to move through the teams.
Yep. And we actually decided not to kind of give any percentages, but we thought this is an experiment. Let's see how it works. Yep. Lot of
Yes.
hands up.
Can you, I don't think you did, but first of all, great talk.
Thank you.
Lots of good ideas. Can you share a little more about how you do salaries, like increases and stuff? Is there something you can share?
I think it's, at least from my perspective in the Netherlands, in the past we had chapter leads, which they were developers doing a fantastic job, but they did not have an HR background. Then by having an HR background now, I'm a little bit more used to understand what the salary scales are. In Wärtsilä, we are also a collective labor agreement, very specific one in the Netherlands. Then it helps us to know where people are. But we didn't want to put people in boxes because of age or experience, but actually more about what are the learning capabilities. Then we have younger people that have a higher salary because they bring more value. Then we try to think as wide as possible without keeping these boxes closed.
Yep.
We
So
do,
it's
yeah.
the two of us, and since we are part of a very huge corporation, we are very kind of limited with that approach. And now we are trying to bring our own flavor and also kind of fighting the windmills in the discussions how to kind of change the corporate way of seeing things. Yep.
So other than Scrum Master and technical, do you have other people managers helping you?
No.
No.
So we have split we have roughly 100 developers, and those are split between the two of us.
Yes.
How is set up? So this is for development organization.
Yes.
How do you interact, I guess, with the corporate HR? What is the interaction between the
Yep.
way you work as non-HR?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, how to put this? Wärtsilä, I mean, obviously there is an HR function in Wärtsilä. It's actually pretty lean compared to what I've seen in other companies, so very few resources, which then means that the line manager actually needs to do a lot and also to kind of understand many things. So that's definitely the benefit with the two of us.
Yes.
But then we have a super good business HR, who is then kind of the corporate interface from HR towards us. And she has not done the Scrum Master training yet, but she's been into the less trainings, and she's constantly kind of having conversations with us, and she's really like the counterpart with whom we are kind of tweaking the system, if you can say that, and trying to come up with better ways to kind of be more agile and to support our organization.
And we try to make clear to our developers, we are not the HR ladies. We have an HR background, but we are not the HR ladies. Yes?
Yep.
You mentioned one-on-ones with developers and Scrum Masters. Do they come to you or do you go to them?
They, at least in the Netherlands, they definitely come to me because of the collocation. But I have regular meetings with them at least once a month or once every 2 weeks, depending of the need. And they are free to reach out anytime that they need something.
Yeah, so we are doing a bit differently, and we recognize that this co-location is like a major differentiator. So then in Helsinki, we actually have quite many developers there, but they don't show up to the office as often as we would want to. But I have like a regular cycle with the one-to-ones. So
You invite them?
yeah,
Yes.
I invite them. We try to do them face to face. Everyone actually appreciates that. And then, as Emily mentioned, I'm also traveling to the different sites to do the face to face kind of meetings with the people as often as I can. And that has really been helpful, and it takes time. So now we've been around a bit more than 2 years, and you can really see the difference, how people are opening up, what kind of things they are sharing, and also kind of what kind of things and flavors we are getting from them in those conversations.
Yes?
What advice from the last trainers did you not take or decide was not relevant?
Oof.
I
cannot
think
say that.
Bas has made sure that we are following all of them. He's fighting against.
I think we have healthy discussions.
Bas is always saying no.
Bas will say, no, we are not going to do this. But then you would listen very intensively. No, I think he has good points, and the idea, sometimes we had this open space once where people had to discuss topics that it was important to them, and it will stick to my mind that Bas said, it's not about what is decided at the end, it's the art of conversation, just to open up. And I think that's what we try to do every day. Then we listen to each other and we make sure that we create the best out of it. But I have to say, Bas is very insistent, and we try to follow him very much. Yeah.
Another tricky one.
Yes?
Have you tested this team does the firing, and if so,
This team, what, sorry?
you said the teams hire and fire
Yes.
decisions.
Yes.
Do you have examples of the teams
Yes.
firing and how it worked?
Yes, we hire, for example, 3 external consultants in 1 month, and then every consultant went to a different team. And one of the guys was a great interviewer. He had a good technical interview, but we did not involve the team at that time purely, the entire team. Then he was placed as a DevOps product developer, but with more skills in DevOps. And the team realized that the attitude was not good. He did not come on time on the dailies, he was not prepared, he was not open to communicate. And I got a call from the team, and I thought, hallelujah, they are growing. And they took the decision. Then they told me, it's a very difficult conversation, do you mind to help us with it? And I said, yes, I'm here to support you. But at the end, one of the lead developers actually took the lead in having the conversation with the person and said, sorry, but you don't fit within our team.
So it was a group discussion.
It was a group discussion, yeah.
But I think at the moment, we actually discussed this yesterday,
Yes.
the people are not yet ready, in our opinion, for these very difficult
Yes.
conversations. And that's something where we really realize that we need to be a bit of a buffer.
Yes.
And potentially be the ones who are then kind of having these nasty conversations
Because
with the help of the teams and supporting the
Yes.
teams in those.
Because with one external person is an easier choice, but with somebody that is a long term, you really need the help of somebody to have a proper conversation, but also a proper process of doing it. Thank you.
Can you share a bit like how often do line team meets and how do
Yep.
you work with?
Maybe Emily, you can.
Yes, sure. We actually see each other very much. I think in Finland they meet for an hour. You mean about the line team?
Yes.
I hope.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But in the Netherlands, we meet every Monday for almost 2 hours, and we have like a Kanban board with all the topics that we want to discuss. And yeah, we have very regular contact to make sure that we stay on topic.
Yep. And in Finland also weekly, but like Emily said, just 1 hour, and we also have our Miro board, and we are kind of doing the Scrum things kind of as to how to facilitate the line team also.
Yes. Okay, there's no more questions. I'm glad that you didn't make any questions. We are very happy for all your questions. Thank you so much for your attention. Feel free to contact us anytime. We are in LinkedIn, and we will stay here for the next coming 2 days. Thank you, everybody, for your attention.
Thank you. No, it's fine. I think we will share it also in the site, but you're fine to do it.